The question about Tennessee Valley Authority traffic stops touches on important issues of liberty and the structure of American government, the American series of states, and their compact with the federal agent in Washington. Now, we know that there's been, since the War to Prevent Southern Independence, a change in the interest of that agent. Now the agent has become the principal, and the states, Tennessee included, have become, as it were, departments. Now that's in practice, that is the truth in practice, and that is why we have a great lassitude among local officials, among Hamilton Countyans and others across Tennessee about this story regarding traffic stops by a coal-burning and nuclear plant operating company, a federal corporation, the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is now enforcing Title 55 of the Tennessee Code against the traveling public and against operators of motor vehicles. Now, those are two distinct categories legally. Travelers are traveling at liberty. They include many Hispanic immigrants and a few others. And then the other category of people in commerce, they are operators of motor vehicles, and they are under license and in commerce by either by in fact or by admission and petition and application. They have entered into a commercial relationship with the state to have driver licenses and obey the three legs of commercial government, which would be mandatory insurance and vehicle registration with the state as making the vehicle a state property effectively. And so TVA is, as we have developed the story here at Nooga Radio and Nooganomics.com, TVA is enforcing traffic laws, which are a kind of municipal ordinance. Basil Marceau would probably shoot me for saying that, but they are kind of effectively a municipal ordinance enforced by cities and counties. And now, joining the crowd, we have the national government, the great power that invades countries, that has military operations in about 80 different countries by the last account in the Wall Street Journal, and now cares about maintaining its infrastructure by stopping and seizing the woman, let's say, in the sedan traveling over Thrasher Bridge over the dam in Chickamauga, over Chickamauga Lake. She's going 70, and the posted speed limit is 55, and so there is an interest by TVA officer Scott Stone and others like him using high-tech digital electronic surveillance equipment to stop this woman and cite her for a traffic violation, a violation of the commercial and transportation statute requiring all parties in commerce to be subject to the posted limit. And so she's going to be cited, evidently, not to U.S. District Court. I don't think that TVA people cite violators of these laws to federal court, which does not have that jurisdiction, but to Sessions Court, Hamilton County Sessions Court, or Chattanooga City Court, especially if it happened on Highway 153 over the river, the Tennessee River, and Chickamauga locks there. That is the scene of Saturday's exciting development, in which it is now reported that the good people in Washington and their agents, their cohorts on the board of the Tennessee Valley Authority are involving themselves in traffic maintenance and public safety. Now, the questions that we raise are in the nature of government and also the nature of the statute. We are brought to you by the party that looks into these matters in detail, and that is the website for the Man Who Matters. And you should be like Dave Crockett and many others and subscribe to Nooganomics.com and support it. That is our chief sponsor. And there this morning, David Tulis, that's me, your host, posted another review, this one of the Tennessee Code annotated provisions that are in this volume here, which I have the 2001 edition at home. I'm a blessed man with the 2000, and well, I've got at least the 2001 supplement. So this is not entirely, this is about 16 years old, but some laws don't really change. So I like looking through the hard copy and refreshing myself on LexisNexis for free, right? You don't have to subscribe to LexisNexis. I think it's an agreement with the state, and that I think it's severe. A Dutch Reed Elsevier, the Dutch publishing house that runs LexisNexis, and has it free for the public. A very great benefit. Now, the question that we have is the nature of government, the divided way of government, and there are some practical questions Therese, and they're not, in the end, they're not legal. They are political, and they're moral, and they're even theological. And they're theological, of course, because they touch on God's interest in the human race and God's continuing and increasing claims upon people for His glory and for His own and for their benefit. And there's a theological background to this, of course, and that is the nature of law and jurisdiction. Theologically, you could say, before God, does God have jurisdiction over you? Does God, in other words, do you have to obey His laws or face His wrath and judgment? Or do you consider His laws, fear Him, obey them, and thereby over time obtain His blessing because you are walking in the path that the law shines upon as a light, right? That's what God's law, the Ten Commandments in summary, shine on as a light. And so if God has jurisdiction over you and over Chattanooga and over Tennessee, well, then over time, there will be reforms in the direction of God's law. That would be in the direction of equity and justice and truth, right? And that would be the laws become fair, penal systems are abolished, policing abolished as well. Policing and law enforcement would be abolished in a biblically honoring, God-honoring country. Of course, we don't have that now, but we can dream about it and hope for it in the future and train our children the way that they should go so that they might want it as well. And over time, as things shift, as the consensus shifts away from humanistic solutions and humanistic impositions upon the ungodly, right? That's to say the whole judicial industrial complex. As that fades away, we have a more just and honorable system. So that's the theological background of my analysis today here on the David Tulis Show at Nooga Radio. We are Nooga Radio, and we are live, and I do thank you for giving me just a minute of your time, AM 1240 and FM 92.7. Yeah, you can check YouTube at the Hot News Talk Radio channel live there. And also, as I adjust my bow tie here, okay, the Adam's apple bobbing up and down above it, right, to keep things moving there, to keep the cloth strands all connected, is my bow tie, the famous bow tie of David Tulis, the smartest man with a bow tie. And because you don't wear bow ties, you, my listener, have the advantage of being the smartest man in your category. If you just give me a minute, maybe 5 minutes, okay, give me 5 minutes, and we will make progress in our understanding of how things really work, how the deep state works. Right, Tennessee has a deep state, no less than that surrounding giddy Washington and its minions there. The question is of the nature of government and how law is to be enforced, how peace is to be maintained. The statute, Title 38 that I'm looking at here, has a more, in a way, a kind of common law view of peace and protection. The state is involved in law enforcement, right? Government is involved in peacekeeping. What we have today is the commercial state. Every state in the Union is a commercial state, and all of them have effectively, by thievery and deception of the people, maintained themselves in gargantuan proportions over the people in a parallel economy. And I say that because the one thing I'll remind you of about this claim is that the state sovereign capital fund is bigger than state government itself. It is worth more than state government itself. State government's worth about, I don't know, $42 billion is net worth. But the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, TCRS, is worth about $50 billion. It's liquid capital, purely liquid capital, tax-free, and I would say it's outside constitutional permission. But we'll talk about that another day if you want. But here now in Chattanooga, we have TVA enforcing, and the question is, enforcing what? Enforcing Tennessee Code Annotated 55, the Transportation Code, and having leave to do so in two provisions. The first provision that you can read about at Nooganomics.com, I'll give you the summary here. I recommend, though, to get people interested in the story that you go to that website and do a lot of sharing of my work. That really helps me, David Tulis, on Facebook today. Go to Facebook, I suggest, like Nooga Radio. Do me a favor and like Nooga Radio. And then also share the work that I put there that is promoted there at Nooga Radio. Now, peace officers for Tennessee Valley Authority do have some obligations, as we point out. They have to swear an oath, presumably to the Tennessee Constitution. They have to, because they're involved in a threat and danger to the public, they have to post a minimal bond. The bond is $50,000, and the officer whom we report upon us in Sunday's Nooganomics, that officer has to either personally make that bond payable to the Secretary of State, or he has to be in an agency that does all of its officers in one fell swoop in a mass payment, a posting of bond. And I don't know this morning which of it that is. I assume one of them is done, though perhaps maybe you could help. You, my listener, could help me check. Right? We are here at Nooga Radio, where you report, and the world decides. Now there is this really vague language that I want to mention about where the officer gets his authority. And here's the language. Each such officer throughout every county in the state in which TVA does business, etc., shall have and exercise for the sole purpose of carrying out the scope of assigned duties, okay, as specified or limited within the exclusive judgment of the TVA Board of Directors, comma, okay. So I'll stop right there. The comma, after the comma, there's more, but we have here a note about the Board of TVA. So the board has to have an explicit and enumerated list of duties and charges for Officer Scott Stone. You can see what Officer Stone looks like. See what he looks like. He's a very handsome man and treated me respectfully. I was there with a press badge, so that gives me some protection from harassment and abuse, or even tasing or killing by the officer. They are perhaps a little bit more careful about people who have these sort of markings. But, you, my listener, if you have a smartphone, you are a member of the press too. And we encourage you to use your power as a member of the press, even if you have no intent of publication, to make records, as we are all training to do, make records of public servant encounters. So the TVA board has to have a list of specified and limited authority. So there, again, I would say, why does a federal board have authority over how a TVA cop enforces laws or protects the facilities here? How is that? The statute goes on to say that all of the powers of the peace officer, okay, so he has all the powers of a peace officer, including the power to make arrests for public offenses. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Public offenses committed against TVA officials or employees, or committed upon, about, or against TVA property, or on public roads or rights of way passing through or over such property, and while in pursuit of a person fleeing after committing such an offense, may pursue that person and make an arrest anywhere in the state. So there you have it. That is the basis of Scott Fiedler's statements here. Scott Fiedler, we have interviewed, and he says that TVA has plenary jurisdiction.
Yeah, it was a traffic stop.
Here he is. Okay. How does that work?
How does a traffic stop work?
Yes, please.
They see something suspicious.
So Scott Fiedler, TVA spokesman.
It could be a variety of things.
Someone's driving too fast, past the speed limit?
It was a traffic stop.
So the car was pulled over from, is that under Title 55 of the Tennessee Code? Under what authority? The transportation stop? Commercial stop?
I have no idea. It was a traffic stop.
Was the person cited to court?
I just know it was a traffic stop.
Does that person go into a federal court for this? Tell me generally speaking.
Don't know.
Speak generally, Mr. Fiedler. How does it work?
It was a traffic stop. We have law enforcement, who are federal officers, whose jurisdiction is the Tennessee Valley, the states that we serve.
How far is that?
Reciprocity.
How far is that jurisdiction past the dam?
The entire Tennessee Valley, where Tennessee TVA authority is. So that's 7 states.
So you have the authority to stop people driving private cars. This was a family with a child in the back. You stop them. A federal law, TVA stopped a family with a small child in the back for some kind of offense. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying, it was a traffic stop.
What is a traffic stop? What is that? What's the problem? What's the offense?
I don't know. It was a traffic stop.
Well, generally speaking, Mr. Fiedler, what do traffic stops do when feds pull people over in a private car?
I'm not a police officer, so I can only tell you that it was a traffic stop.
How many traffic stops are made every month by your department?
I don't know.
Can you find out for me?
Not tonight, maybe Monday.
No, I understand. It's Saturday night. I understand. I appreciate your taking my call. It is Saturday evening. So,
yes.
So TVA, under what authority? You said under agreement. Can you say something about that, please?
Well, they're federal officers operating in the jurisdiction within the Tennessee Valley, and that's within the Tennessee Valley Authority, within the TVA Act.
So a federal officer could run me down and stop me if I run a stop sign in Saudi Daisy at the end of my street. Is that what you're saying? Is that within the authority of your agency?
I would have to check that, but potentially, if there are issues, they will respond.
Are these federal issues or state issues that you're mentioning?
That I don't know. I'd have to check in on that.
How many police officers are there in the Chattanooga area, Mr. Fiedler?
I'd have to check on that.
Okay. Would you please get back with me on Monday?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
Well, this is David Tulis, and we're hearing Scott Fiedler in an initial interview he gave me Saturday, in which he didn't have all the facts, but since that time, he says that the stop was premised. Well, he indicates it was premised on the use of a LPR license plate reader, which is an Orwellian eye that police officers are mounting on cars now. I think even in Chattanooga, I've seen some Chattanooga Police Department cars that have these Orwellian devices that read every license plate. What they do is they're constantly scanning in 360-degree circles on some mountings, and every license plate on the back of a car that they see, they immediately digest and manage and analyze and determine if there's something wrong with that plate. In other words, something wrong with the commercial connection between the user of that car, who may be a driver, and that car, which may be a motor vehicle in commerce, in transportation. So what happens is the LPR tracks that person, and the officer can be alerted within seconds and make the U-turn, the safe U-turn, right, in heavy traffic that will allow him to chase down that wicked person whose tag is out of date. Or who's maybe has the wrong tag on the car or what have you. And that was the issue Saturday for this unnamed family, a woman at the wheel, a man at her side, presumably a husband or a boyfriend, in the backseat, a small child playing with its toes in a red restraining seat. And the stop was Saturday afternoon. And so the question is, the assertion by Scott Fiedler is that, well, these people traveled over a dam. And under this code, the armed officer stopped and arrested the family just near just before the pull off there, the first pull off, not the road, but the first little park. There's a little parking area after you come into Hickson from the dam. Just before that, the car was pulled over to the side, and he arrested these people. Now, Mr. Fiedler objects to my use of the word arrest, but an arrest is a stop, right? Arrêter is French for stop. Arrest is stop, and an arrest doesn't have to mean the taking into custody to the magistrate first, and then to the booking department in the jail. Officers can do that, right? If they stop you, presumably they have authority to do that if you don't sign the paper. Now, here, no paper was required to be signed because the woman had bought this car used, and there was some kind of tag on the vehicle, and so there was the wrong date on the tag, or the tag was it's not supposed to be on that car. So the LPR told Officer Scott Stone within seconds that the tag did not belong to that make of car, and he gave chase. He gave chase, making sure that this offense to public safety, as Mr. Fiedler described, an offense against public safety, was brought to bar. And the bar was the informal hearing, if you will, on the side of the road, where the judge and juror determined the facts and the law and said, well, it's just a confusion, and he let the people go. He did not arrest them into custody to the magistrate, but he did arrest them. It is an arrest. When you're not free to leave, you are under arrest. Just know that. That's a basic fact of law. If you ask the question, am I free to leave? And the answer is no, you are under arrest. And at that point, you are required to be Mirandized. You are required, it is required that the officer read your Miranda rights, because you are under custody and under arrest. Anything you say, do, or show, or give the officer will be used against you in court. That is what happens. And you need to know that. That is a basic fact of law. Most people don't think it works that way, but that is how it works. If you are stopped and not free to leave, you are under arrest. You are in custodial detention, and you're not free. And don't say anything. Don't open your mouth. Do 3 things. Shut up some more, and keep shutting up. That's what you have to do to maintain your rights. Of course, if you don't want to maintain them, just blab on. David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7